Alright, so last video I covered the City Watch, which are going to be my low-level enforcers in a campaign that I'm running here. I hope relatively soon. And I'll be able to recycle them into future campaigns whenever I need very, very strict, like, law-abiding people or circumstances. So, I spoke about the City Watch with the low-level guys last time. So this time, I'm going to talk about the City Huntsmen. Now, I thought long and hard about what I was going to do with making... They weren't quite... Okay, they're not going to be bounty hunters. That was not the intention. If I wanted to make a bounty hunter that was going to be a part of a larger lawful society, I could have easily just made a Justicar and be done with it. Or a consecrated Harrier, which, you know, is a religious bounty hunter, if I was entitled to a church, which I am, but I didn't want to, for one, consecrated Harriers have to be good, and the deity of the churches in question are not good. So I couldn't do that. But what I did decide on is a different form of bounty hunter. Usually they're bringing them back alive due to needing to be paid. Well, I was going to make these guys a part of the City Watch themselves, the actual city security. So since I was going to do that, I had a little more leeway in their creation, so that I didn't have to be like stuck to specific prestige classes. And in all seriousness, I wanted to make the City Huntsmen's even more deadly and strange than the City Watch were. Even though the City Watch has, like, you know, they have a zombie grafted right arm, and they have all these tomb-born feats out of the Libris Mortis. I wanted to make them even more unique, so I did. These guys are also human, and they look like they've been out in the sun a lot, so their skin's darker, darker hair, darker eyes, and that, without anything else, that pretty much sets them standing alone from the City Watch as it is. The other thing is, even though they're human, I didn't do fighters. I actually did Rangers. I did Ranger 6 and Assassin 1. So yeah, these guys are not... they're not good. They're actually neutral evil. Being as that is, I still wanted to run the Assassins the way they're supposed to be run, but I wanted to make sure that I made the City Knights, the guys even above these, would be able to keep them in line. So I didn't give them a lawful access for their morality, but the way I built them, they basically are like a hound, basically. If people get loose in the city, they break out of prison, they cause a whole lot of distress to the City Watch for whatever reason, and the regular City Watchmen can't find them, can't battle them properly, you know, whatever. That's when the Huntsmen would be sent in. So they're 7th level compared to the City Watch, which are 5. And I made these guys as Rangers specifically with favorite enemy humans, humanoid humans. So the only other favorite enemy they have is humanoid elves. So the two most populated, or populous I should say, species and races in all of D&D, humans and elves, that's what they're most adept in tracking. And I gave them a unique twist. What I did was, I was trying to play around with the idea of like a variant ranger. There's the wild shaping ranger, and I thought about it, but not. It doesn't quite suit the style I was after. I played around with some other Unearthed Arcana variants, and I looked in the Complete Champion, the Complete Divine, the Players 2. I looked all the way in the back to all the actual builds in the back of the Player's Handbook 2. I had to just build it myself, But I did twist it. What I did was I took away their normal ranger capabilities, and I made them an urban ranger, which means inside cities, towns, things like that. That's where they are all adept with. So they have urban track, as opposed to, wilderness tracking, like normal. The wild empathy is half their class level. So that's where I did take a hit. But I was willing to take it because I didn't want to have to... I don't have to spend extra feats on these guys, because I wanted their feats to be very specific. Okay? So, making them urban rangers, I still kept the spellcasting ability. I didn't make them variant combat rangers, basically. But their spells are, jump or true strike once a day. I made it to where it would all be like urban worthwhile, And their animal companions a wolf, because you can't have anything bigger than medium. So I looked through what I could get, and makes enough sense. I mean, they're really good companions anyway. Plus, they have trip, for the bite attack. So it made enough sense. Their feats, that's where they became really, really unique. I combed books after books after books, and PDFs and things like that, trying to find, really unique feat mix this time. And I found it finally. I had to basically admit to myself that I could have easily done a 2-weapon ranger, and I could have used any number of combinations doing that. I even looked at the weapon feats out of the Complete Warrior for 2 different weapons. They were cute. I mean, the one that I was looking at most was actually Bear Axe or whatever it is. I forget what it's actually called. When you have like a battle axe, a great axe, or a dwarven war axe in your primary hand and a dagger in your other, and you literally hit with both, and then you start a grapple attack. I thought about it, and it just didn't quite mix. And then I said, well, what about bow? But then, it wasn't different enough, and bow has to be bow. It can't be crossbow, it can't be hand repeating, it can't be any of that. It has to actually be bow. And I could have done like the bow sword or the bow staff out of the Magicum Compendium, but I didn't want to. So I settled on something. I settled on imagery and high damage, and honestly, I actually settled on versatility, considering what the other feats I gave him. So they all have combat reflexes. And here's where it is. They all have weapon-focused halberd. Yeah, there is an axe, there is a pike, and both are heavy damage, and the crits, the crit is, where is it? ×3, I think it is. And you know what, ×3. That hurts. So it's D10s. I mean, I can't get no better than that. So I then gave them the spinning halberd feat out of the Complete Warrior. That's where the imagery starts to come in. The spinning halberd feat allows me to also use the butt end of the halberd. So now I have slashing or piercing or bludgeoning. That's where their versatility comes in. Now, granted, their bludgeoning only is treated like a club at a D6, and it's only half strength as opposed to strength and a half. But you know what? It still gives me exactly what I needed and what I wanted. And with spinning halberd, it gives me the ability to use all 3 in a round if I really want to. And I gave them improved favorite enemy humans. So on top of everything else, 2 humans, they do an extra 7 damage. That's incredible. And then I gave them the other feat I was looking at from the Complete Warrior, and that's the Raptor School. Now this means that they'll be wearing a cloak of some kind. I have yet to decide whether or not I should go ahead and splurge for magical or not, but it'll be a cloak of some kind, and this means that They do extra damage from jumping down or in a charge. It means that they can then use their cloaks kind of in a whipping fashion to do feints in combat. It really worked for the imagery I was building in my head. And yeah, that's all the feats. Plenty of skills because I ended up giving him Assassin 1, and Assassins are almost kind of built like rogues in a sense. So I got a wider skill mix than I would have just doing Ranger. And jump is like at a 14, so that plus the jump spell, if need be, is huge. Move silent at 11. Let's see. Hide at 11. Gather information at 15 because you use gather information as opposed to survival for urban tracking. And so, yeah. Those are his big skills, and the rest of them, like I said, are all spaced out. So he has skills all over the place. I did go ahead and do magic weapon and magic armor using specifically what a 7th level like ranger would have got out of the DMG. So I did a little calculation, a little number crunching, and I'm giving these guys very, very like minimalistic equipment, just so I'm not carrying around like a whole bunch of like information on each one of these guys, and I can just change it if I need be in the middle of the game. But they do have a +1 deadly precision halberd. That means that for purposes of sneak attack, they get an extra die. Which, it does sound... Truthfully, it sounds psychotic, sneak attacking with a halberd. But I had this discussion a long time ago with a very good friend of mine, who is still one of my very close gaming friends. And in no text, in no book, no errata, no subtext, no source book, no anything, does it say anywhere that in order to sneak attack with a melee weapon, it has to be of a specific size, or size category, or damage category, or anything. Basically what that means is that if you were just a regular rogue, and you blew your first level feat on martial weapon proficiency greatsword, it means that you could sneak attack with it. I can't argue with it. I gave up a long time ago trying to find, because there's no answer out there. So they have a deadly precision halberd, and +7 damage for humans, +2 damage for elves. And I gave them +1 studded leather of landing, which means you get to ignore all fall distance for up to 60 feet. And you always land on your feet, if you want. So the imagery of what I did was kind of like a night hunter almost. Like a fanciful, like, predator almost. Being able to disappear with good hide, being able to track you down, being able to find you, and then doing a massive amount of damage, especially to humans and elves. So, yeah, the Huntsmen they're relatively nasty. They're actually more nasty than the Watch were, and I'm very happy with the build, to be honest with you. And when it all comes down to it, these guys are going to be the one that are going to eventually, like, hunt you down. Even in like bigger cities like metropolises or large cities, because the Watch certainly can't do what these guys can do. So anyway, besides this, I worked a lot on my other map system that I've been doing, and I got 2 more full pieces done. I originally was going to call it the town of Briar Glen, but honestly, with how big my maps are getting, even on like regular graph paper, it's probably going to end up being the size of a metropolis when I'm done. So I may just have to change the name of it. But I did a lot of map work for that. Next video I will do City Knights, the last guys, the highest up, the 10th level ones. So until then, I'm going to keep working on my maps, my other characters, and next video we'll do the City Knights, alright? So, grab your dice. Roll for initiative.